Is the Motorola Moto G Power 2021 still good in 2021? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. What's going on, guys? Kalipis Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're gonna be taking a look at the Motorola Moto G Power 2021 and going over what kind of value it provides in 2021. So let's get into it. To start, this phone has a 6.6-inch IPS LCD display with a resolution of 720p, a PPI of 266, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of 83.8%. So the bezels are decently thin, not the thinnest I've seen, but definitely thin enough to give the phone a nice modern look. We got a hole punch front-facing camera up here, and this camera is 8 megapixels. I gotta say, I am a big fan of the hole punch front-facing camera. This camera really looks clean on the phone's display, as opposed to the water drop notch that you see sometimes. It's a little bit intrusive. It usually is right here, and it just extends the bezel and looks so old-fashioned and kind of clunky. Really not a good design choice. So with this camera, I am a big fan of it. It looks really clean and adds to the modern look of the phone. Now, I do have the brightness right now at 100%, and I would say that even though it's only 720p, it does look really good. The back of the phone is made of this matte silver material that has a really interesting texture to it and also doesn't really pick up any fingerprints. Right now, even in the typical lighting where you would see fingerprints, I don't see any. I'm not a huge fan of the silver, but because of this cool texture and the fact that it doesn't pick up fingerprints, I think these things do make up for the color. Overall, although it's not the thinnest phone out there, it is thin enough to the point where even though it has a larger display, it's still comfortable to hold in your hand and carry in your pocket without being too bulky. Now for storage, this phone has 32 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion. Now keep in mind there's another variant that has 64 gigabytes, but for the sake of this video, this phone in my hand is the 32 gigabyte variant. Now 32 gigabytes isn't a terribly high amount of storage. In fact, I think that 64 is a little bit better if you're anticipating shooting a lot of photos and videos or having a lot of apps. Now keep in mind the microSD card expansion is really good. It's gonna give you a lot more space. It's nice to have more space on the phone itself. So even though this is the lower variant and there is a 64 gigabyte variant, I do think that personally for me, 32 wouldn't be enough. Then again, I am more of a power user. For the average user, 32 gigabytes should be acceptable as long as you watch what you're putting on your phone and don't have too many unnecessary apps. Now, I will say there are several phones in the same price range that have 64 gigabytes and one or two that have 128. Now, keep in mind, the 64 gigabyte variant of this phone is going to be a little bit more expensive. I'm talking more about the phones in this exact price range, something like the Samsung Galaxy A12 or the Blue G91, despite being in the same price range as the 32 gigabyte variant of this phone. Now there's no wireless charging with this phone, but we do have a fingerprint scanner, and it's in one of my favorite spots for a fingerprint scanner, right here on the power key. This is such a convenient spot because you're going to be touching this button to wake up the phone anyway. But with this phone, when you touch it, it's actually going to unlock it too. So it's really able to do it all in one step. Let's try that one more time. As you can see, it's not only placed really conveniently, but the fingerprint scanner is really fast and responsive. In fact, I think it's faster than even the in-display fingerprint scanners of some of the flagship phones, so that's really impressive. In addition to the fingerprint scanner, this phone also has face unlock, so if you don't like using your fingerprint scanner, or maybe you're wearing a glove or something, then you can use face unlock instead. So we have a triple camera setup on the rear with a 48 megapixel rear camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera, so really good stuff. I do wish it still had an ultra-wide camera. If I can remember right, the Motorola Moto G Power 2020 did have an ultra-wide camera, and they took it away for the 2021 model. So that is a little bit of a disappointment. But if you are looking for a phone that has an ultra-wide camera, the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2021 does have one, so that might be something to consider. But overall, this phone does have a really impressive camera. As far as the quality of photos taken by the rear camera goes, let me show you a picture. So this photo was taken by the rear camera of the Motorola Moto G Power 2021. The image is really sharp, the colors are really nice, and my favorite thing about this photo is it was taken on a cloudy day, as you can see here, and it handled the lighting super well. There's no haze or anything. Usually mid-range phones tend to have cameras that don't do too well with odd lighting like this. So I am pretty impressed with this camera. I would say whether you're more of a casual camera user or a heavy camera user, maybe you like to take high quality photos for social media, or you have a website, something more professional. No matter what the case is, if you're taking straight up regular pictures with your rear camera, this phone is gonna be a real good choice for that, because usually you're gonna need a much higher end device in order to get photos of this quality. So the quality of videos you can shoot on this phone is limited to 1080p in both the rear and the front cameras, so nothing too special there. Let me show you a quick video sample. We're doing a quick video sample with the Motorola Moto G Power 2021. We are shooting in 1080p right now. Also keep in mind the quality of the audio. So as you can see from that, it's not the best. If you're shooting videos for something like Snapchat or an Instagram story or something where it really just doesn't even matter, then it's gonna be okay. But if you wanna shoot real videos for any sort of purpose where you're gonna be posting them and people are gonna actually be viewing them with the expectation of them being high quality, you'll probably want to look at a different device because these videos really aren't that great. If you are looking for a Motorola phone that can shoot really good videos, I would suggest checking out the review of the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2021 on the channel, because that phone has some really good camera features and really good video features. So if you are looking to go to that next level, then that might be something to consider. But otherwise, this phone can shoot really good photos with its rear camera, even though it doesn't have very many features or the greatest video quality. Internally, the Motorola Moto G Power 2021 is getting 3 GB of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 662 processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on the phone, and it came back with a single core score of 306 and a multi-core score of 1370, so not bad. It's not the most powerful processor out there, but so far I haven't had any performance issues. Now, if you're trying to run a super high performance game like Fortnite or do video editing with really large files, then you're probably gonna have some trouble. But if you're doing more basic activities like browsing the web and going on social media and that sort of thing, then you're not really gonna have any issues. What I would suggest you do is run a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on your current device and compare it to this one and see if it's an upgrade. For the battery life, that's where things really get impressive on this phone. This phone has a 5000 milliamp hour battery that supports 15 watt fast charging. So you're gonna get not only a lot of life out of this, but a lot of longevity down the road, because when batteries degrade, which all of them do, when you have a larger battery like the battery in this phone, you're not gonna notice it as fast. So you'll be able to keep the phone for longer than, say, an iPhone 12 that has about half the battery size of this one. So if you do prefer to get a phone and keep it for a longer period of time, that is something that you'll probably like about this one. And in addition to the battery size, fast charging definitely helps if you don't have time to wait for your phone to charge up really slowly. If you have a more mobile lifestyle where you only have so long to charge up your phone, then this is going to help a lot too. Now, in conclusion, is the Motorola Moto G Power 2021 worth buying in 2021? Well, I would definitely say so. While this phone doesn't have a ton of super high-end features, its quality in every department is really good. The display looks really nice and is decently large too. The phone itself, while not being the thinnest phone out there, does have a sleeker and more modern design, accompanied by thin bezels and a hole punch camera. I do think it has a nice look to it. The rear camera of this phone is really good quality and can take some pretty impressive pictures. It has a decent amount of processing power, and again, it has a huge battery that's going to be able to get you through a lot. At the end of the day, if you're looking for a mid-range phone and don't need a bunch of high-end features or super high-end performance, but want the basics plus a phone that looks really nice and can take good pictures, then the Motorola Moto G Power 2021 is going to be a good option. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.